What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again. So yesterday I rustled some jimmies when I talked about some of the negatives being bolted onto the side of Forsaken, mostly in the form of the season pass, the annual pass, whatever the fuck you want to call it. What arose by any other name, still nickel and dime, all the same. Anyways, I did forget to mention that the season pass and the annual pass, whatever the fuck you want to call it, will be required for anyone and everyone who wishes to still remain competitive in PvP, as a light level will be tied to the pass, and activities such as Trials of the Nine or Trials of Osiris or whatever kind of trials they decide to bring back after they bring it back, and Iron Banner will now have light enabled. So there is that. Also, when looking over the list of features of things coming in these DLCs, did anybody else notice that new strikes were not on that list? This is literally DLC for maybe some endgame content and some exotics. Something I think is important to keep in mind. The question that I proposed was not, is this offensively expensive? No, it's pretty inoffensively inexpensive. That in and of itself was not the point. Bungie is asking players with this season pass to cough up $170 for Destiny 2. And basically, that last $30 is buying the equivalent of some exotics and the promise of some kind of nebulous endgame activity. Oh yeah, and some legendaries and some armor, okay? Is that really worth splitting the player base over? That's just my question. A question that apparently the asking of makes me suddenly a Destiny hater. Oh, I hate Destiny, blah, 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 blah. But I digress. On to the good stuff. Because I never have anything good to say about Destiny, especially Destiny 2, except a week's worth of videos where I've been more or less cautiously optimistic on the verge of betraying legitimate excitement for the release of Forsaken. But hey, fucking details, am I right? For those of you wondering if I'm going to dive deep into the teaser and break it down frame for frame and speculate, no. And the reason for that is because, you know, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, I'm just so unexcited for Forsaken. I'm just so dispassionately uninterested. I'm just making these videos for the views because, you know, lol. I totally haven't gone balls deep into the lore that has hit the Ishtar database to the point that I'm outlining future lore videos and aggregating information. Oh wait, that's exactly what I've been doing. But hey, fucking details, am I right? So while what's actually shown in the trailer isn't even remotely touched on in the lore, I likely couldn't talk about it without spoiling something. And I think at that point, what's the point of speculating about a teaser trailer when you have a pretty good idea of what's going on? What I will do, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, is talk about a few things that I liked from the teaser and how I think it'll enhance Bungie's ability to tell stories in Destiny. With that said, let's get into it. And don't worry, no spoilers. 4 years. 4 long-ass years. That's how long it's been since our Guardian last spoke.
So, think you can kill a god?
Don't think I have a choice.
Destiny 2 has been largely disappointing when it comes to storytelling. I've spent the last year outlining that in excruciating detail, and while I've looked over the new lore added to Forsaken in the database, and I totally plan to beat Byf and Malin and Beard to that Chronicler seal for completing the lore triumph, and while there are some things in that new lore that When I read it, I groaned and rolled my eyes. Mostly, I was extremely happy with what I saw. It was extremely detailed. There was a small novella devoted to the history of the Awoken, Book of Sorrows style. There's a huge update to the Shin Malfur and the Shadows of Your storyline, and a lot of really spoilerific mysteries that we won't get into here. And as fucking ecstatic as I am about all of that, and believe me, I really am, one thing has piqued my interest for the actual storytelling in Forsaken, not just the side content.
We are not an army. We are not conquerors. We need to keep our eyes on our home, our people.
This is Cade we're talking about. For us to do nothing is
Say it.
cowardice.
I refuse to bury any more friends.
You won't have to. Aldrin Sov is mine.
You won't have to. Aldrin Zov is mine. We've gotten our voices back. After 4 long years, our Guardian has spoken. Destiny 2 has spent the last year superimposing our character onto our ghost. I've seen some people complain about the return of our voice because, of course, whatever. And it's something that really does puzzle me. They use the very lackluster excuse that goes a little something like this.
But Joker! Destiny is a shared world, so Bungie shouldn't get to decide my character's personality.
I find that to be ridiculous, of course, because if Destiny really was a shared world without developers superimposing any character onto our character whatsoever, or any rules onto the world whatsoever, raids, strikes, story missions, they could only ever be done by the first person who ever does them. Because in a truly shared world, you'd only be able to kill something once. Duh, it's almost like we're playing a video game. That rule doesn't apply, because that wouldn't be fun. On top of all that, we'd have entirely different ghosts with different personalities, and we all wouldn't have woken up in the same exact spot. I mean, we're all literally this one singular Guardian right here.
Is it possible? There you are.
The dissonance that most people experience when they're trying to figure out the Destiny storyline comes from the multiplayer aspect, but to use Halo as an example, you're not all different Noble Sixes when you play co-op in Halo Reach. There's only one Noble Six, but there's multiple of you during the gameplay segments because you're playing co-op. Same thing with Halo 4. There's not multiple Master Chiefs because you're playing co-op. In the story, there's only one Master Chief. In the gameplay segments, you're playing fucking co-op because it's a fucking video game. There is a disconnect between story and gameplay, a ludonarrative dissonance, so we've either just got to accept that one of these makes the story better. Either A, we're all super special, awesome, different Guardians, even though the story has never really treated us that way, or B, we're all playing a story when we step into the shoes of the Guardian. When we're playing co-op, our game is the main game, and the people playing with us are just random Guardians in that story. They're extras, but everybody is still the Guardian because it's based on your perception. It's based on who's playing. That probably sounds way more meta and complex than it needs to, but I digress. You get what I'm saying. The answer to this question, I believe, of course, is B. As the narrative of Destiny has always treated players as the exact same character, and it's good to see Bungie finally embracing that, finally owning that, because the loss of Cade, the darker tone, the more serious nature of the story, demands a level of involvement that, if this line was delivered by my ghost,
You won't have to. Aldrin Sov is mine.
in that Nolan Bot-esque, whimsical,
You won't have to. Aldrin Zov is ours.
kind of way, I think that would be the point where I honestly uninstall the game, put my controller down, and that would be my review of the game. Because you can't tell a story with any real attachment, more so one about us going rogue, if the character within the story is a passenger. I mean, think about it. There are people that don't like Cade. So why would these people seek revenge for him? The entire premise of the story demands that our character be a character other than ourselves in the situations where people who are apparently superimposing themselves on the character wouldn't do this. Because there are people out there that would say, fuck it, I'm glad Cade's dead. So creating a character outside of the person playing allows the player to watch a story of revenge be carried out, instead of having this weird dissonance of, well, my Guardian wouldn't care if Cade died, why am I even doing this? Giving the Guardian a character, much in the same way that Master Chief kind of has a character, but not really that much of a character, allows people to kind of just go with it and experience a story. And it allows Bungie to tell better stories. Some people might think that it'll take them out of the story to see the player character grieve over Cade, but really, I think it would be more harmful to the story if our character is sitting there pantomiming grief as our ghost is swearing for revenge. It would destroy the entirety of the mood, which ruins the story. So, anyways, between us getting our voice back and the leaked lore, it looks like Bungie is finally, after a year, taking their story seriously in Destiny 2. Remember when we had that interview clip with the two devs idiotically talking about how there was going to be so much story that we're going to be complaining about how much story there is? Well, I'm not complaining, but it looks like we're finally getting to the point where there's a shit ton of story in the game. Let's just put it this way. The Awoken version of the Book of Sorrows has an order of magnitude more story than all of Destiny 2 Year 1 combined. And there are a few of these books within the story, a few of these Book of Sorrow-esque collections. In fact, this lore dump might be bigger than both the lore dumps in Taken King and Rise of Iron combined. And that's just what I've seen. There's more that I haven't read, and who knows, there might be more when Forsaken is updated. And it looks like they're finally going in and doing what I've been criticizing them for not doing for some time now. They're going in and they're really starting to flesh out the information that people should just kind of know because, well, it's the type of information that people should just kind of know in the universe. Is it done in its totality? No, not from what I've read thus far, but I've not read everything, and what I have read is extremely hopeful. So if it's not done now, hopefully they'll continue on this course and do it in the future. Also, I wouldn't be surprised in the least if the lore book, the physical book that's coming out, The Dark Mirror, not only has information from Forsaken in it, but is followed up by a book about the Awoken. There's just that much information there. And yeah, there are definitely things that might have the entire lore community at one another's throats over the interpretation, so I'm fucking psyched. The only thing that I'm somewhat worried about, and rightfully so I think, is the same thing that I was worried about with Curse of Osiris and Warmind. The in-game storytelling, when it comes to Destiny, has never been that great. And while it may not seem like it from the teasers because Activision has great marketing, reading the lore tabs, which I'm not going to get into except to say, there seems to be 4 or 5 plots running through Forsaken, besides the plot that's been advertised. Now, if these are lore-only plotlines found in Grimoire 2.0, that's fine. We saw that in Destiny 1. And it does remain to be seen if that's the case. But I worry if Bungie tries to juggle all of these multiple ginormous plotlines, they will fail. Because they've done it before. They've failed really, really hard with Warmind and Curse of Osiris and Destiny 2. So I just hope it's good. I just want it to be good. I want them to deliver. I don't want them to bite off more than they can chew, which I'm worried they're going to do, because these plot lines look really, really cool. But hey, that's my totally negative, all I ever do is apparently trash on Destiny opinion for today. Let me know yours in the comments below. And like always, stay frosty.